Every Saturday is Cat Day on Echoplex Media, and not only are we posting fucking cats, we invite all content creators to join our open panel. Visit echoplexmedia.com/panel to learn how to join. Every third Saturday is Operation Catterday, where we cover this week and last year and play the best clips from the cast of conspiracy characters that Now Space has learned to loathe. The show starts at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. Find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
And I'm talking about the Echoplex trolls over here, guys. They're ascended masters.
Everything's fine, and everything's fine, and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine, and everything's fine, and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine, and everything's fine, and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine, and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day. The weather, the traffic, the time, and the news. How's your commute? What do you do? Sorry I'm late, I kept hitting snooze. It's just one of those days. You know what they say. It is what it is. Ignorance is bliss. When it rains, it pours. Couldn't ask for more. What goes around comes around, all in good time. I guess that your guess is as good as mine. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day.
Welcome to the Plex. We usually do this show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. Yet, it is Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. Podcast listeners, if I put the show out tomorrow like I should, you won't notice any difference. If I get busy tomorrow and I put the show out Wednesday, you'll notice a difference. You can support this project at patreon.com/echoplex. Speaking of which, we're going to go ahead and give this show out as a freebie. So if you're listening on the pod and you want to like what happens after the podcast, well, head on over to patreon.com/echoplex. You can get this for free. Also, eplex.store. There's no way for me to give out the members show for free there yet, but the good people at Fourth Wall will probably fix that for me soon. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and this is what the people want.
Police officers, they've gone insane.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Like your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm if you didn't hate the cops. Because they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, well, our first segment, I guess we'll call it a segment, is more of people's reaction to Donald Trump's indictment. And they called it an arrest, but I'm hesitant to call it an arrest. I know technically, legally, he was arrested, but they just let him go. Fucking whatever. If I was charged under the Espionage Act, they'd probably just throw me in a hole and you'd never fucking see me again. Anyway, how important could those documents have possibly been?
Just to continue on with that, the national security implications of a money trail through various shell corporations and accounts that make their way to Biden Family Inc. Is that not significant? If this all pans out as we think it will, and I think it will, again, we're talking what's more important here. I'm not saying classified documents and the way they're stored isn't important. I actually think it is important. But what's more important here for the future of America? The bathroom documents or what's happening with China and Ukraine?
And I think people remembered that.
Well, what's more important? Well, I don't know. If there's some weird shit going on with China, Ukraine, and the Biden family and money laundering, they should get fucking busted too. Fuck them. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of evidence of that. They keep talking about this whistleblower. We're going to get to that later. I've never heard shit from any of these supposed whistleblowers, so we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Biden's doing the dirt. Fucking, he should go down too. Fuck them all. But we're not seeing any of the dirt. I mean, we did watch that Hunter Biden movie though. That My Son Hunter. That was a great fucking movie. So up next, here's Bill Barr talking about Donald Trump. I'm surprised Bill Barr didn't run for president, to be perfectly honest.
To that standard.
You say Trump's alleged conduct is indefensible. So many Republicans continue to defend him. What will it say if the party, your longtime party, puts him forward as their nominee?
Well, that's the problem. I don't think they're actually defending his conduct, but they are saying it's unfair to prosecute him. But that then raises another question. Okay, if it's unfair to prosecute him, that's not the whole answer. The question is, should we be putting someone like this forward as the leader of the country, leader of the free world, who's engaged in this kind of conduct? The other thing, I mean,
we did it once.
Not just an isolated example. Trump has many good qualities, and he accomplishes good things. But the fact of the matter is, he is a consummate narcissist, and he constantly engages in reckless conduct.
Yeah, that's what they like about him. You fucking dumb fuck.
Puts his political followers at risk and the conservative and Republican agenda at risk.
Would he put the country at risk if he was in the White House again?
He will always put his own interests and gratifying his own ego ahead of everything else, including the country's interests. There's no question about it. This is a perfect example of that. He's like a defiant 9-year-old kid who's always pushing the glass toward the edge of the table, defying his parents to stop him from doing it. It's a means of self-assertion and exerting his dominance over other people. And he's a very petty individual who will always put his interests ahead of the country's, his personal gratification of his ego. But our country can't be a therapy session for, a troubled man like this.
This is not the only special counsel investigation.
That's an interesting way to put it. I don't know if it's like a therapy session for the guy. I think it's like an ego grift. I don't know. I have no idea, man. It's just like what the fuck is going on? I know I said it before, but like if any of you in chat were charged under the Espionage Act, nobody'd ever see you again. Just the way it works, man. This is so crazy. Anyway, here's this would be the former Deputy Secretary of the Treasury under Trump. Her name's Monica Crowley, and she's apparently the host of the Monica Crowley podcast, and going to talk about different spiritual planes.
Under a political and ideological Marxist assault now for nearly a century, began in the 1930s. It's a KGB operation, and we're now at a real tipping point. But there is a spiritual dimension to this war as well. There's something much bigger going on here than just Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, right? Or Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis. This is happening on a much higher spiritual plane. And it
really? Could you explain this? What do you mean this is happening on a spiritual plane? This is all this fucking, this is a spirit, there's a battle for the fucking soul of our country. No, we're just going to have a shitty election.
It's good versus evil. And I'm so grateful for all of you, what you do every single day on this network and on this show, calling people's attention to the real nature of the enemy here. And, to Dutch's point, everybody else here has made this point. A lot of demons are making themselves known. And that's like our Thursday show. How totally unafraid they are of us, because there hasn't been real pushback in any meaningful way. But the good news is that God wins in the end. God always... if I was a demon, I wouldn't really be afraid of Monica Crowley, would you? Prevails. And I do think that more and more people are recognizing all levels of this fight, and they're willing to step up. And I can feel a real energy shift in the country. So I remain optimistic. And if God be for us, who can be against us, right? Well, people... shout out to Right Wing Watch. That's crystal healing Trump energy, everybody. You down with that crystal healing Trump energy? We're going to fight this on a spiritual plane. Sometimes I'm glad that a lot of these people are fucking stupid and believe that we're fighting a spiritual battle. Because when you tell people they're fighting a spiritual battle, there is some chance that they're not going to actually fight the political battle because they'll be busy over here dealing with the fucking spiritual battle, which I am all for. Don't vote. Just eat, pray, and love about the election or whatever. For fuck's sake. All right, up next, we got Georgia had a GOP state convention, and here's just one example of one of the attendees being asked about the recent news about Mr. Donald Trump, assuming Twitter decides to play along with us here. Oh, there it goes.
Outside the state convention, his supporters are unfazed.
I think it's a bunch of bull. Trump ain't done that. Wrong thing Trump done is saved this country.
They're not going to let it.
That guy sounds like Boomhauer from King of the Hill.
They can't stand the fact that he's running for president, and I am a Donald Trump fan.
It's probably altered, but it's just typical liberal propaganda.
None of the Republican voters CNN spoke with had read the indictment.
No, I wouldn't waste my time on a phony indictment. I don't care about the indictment. You could indict a bologna sandwich.
So that's the saying is that you could indict a ham sandwich for being a ham sandwich, and that's a funny thing that defense lawyers say, but they just mean that a lot of times they feel like that their client shouldn't have that the evidence against their client didn't meet the requirements for an indictment and they were indicted anyway, and that's fine. But it's a ham sandwich, and it's indicting the ham sandwich for being a ham sandwich. That's the thing that lawyers say. Anyway, what we got next is a man on the street outside of the Miami courthouse. Apparently, somebody's calling into the Steve Bannon show. Steve Bannon, still alive.
Find that your colleagues and your comrades down there are actually
your comrades
more up to speed than people that watch the mainstream media?
100%. We're pretty much everyone's pretty much on board, keeping up with the knowledge. And again, we always say do your research. More and more people are doing the research. The problem I find is that the left, they know 5%. They know the talking points, and that's all they throw at us as talking points. When we can actually debate.
But do your own research as a talking point.
A whole conversation about details and get in the in the guts deep down. They don't know anything.
This dude hasn't gotten into anybody's guts in a while.
If they don't know it, they call us a racist and run away. But
I mean, if I called you a racist, I wouldn't run away from you.
But yeah, to answer your point, is with the help of Bannon in a war room and Ben, you guys are educating us, and we're taking that fight on the road.
I thought you were doing your own research. Now Bannon is educating you,
and we're teaching people. We're educating one by one, and they still continue to mock him. And quite frankly, like I said, as an American, as a patriot, it pisses me off that
you mad about being made fun of. Nothing ever changes.
do this and mock him and laugh and kind of point the finger at us like you guys are idiots. No, we're the educated ones. We're the ones who can defend our point and our position. So yeah, it really irritates me. But
so there's this idea, and it isn't just like limited to the Republicans or the Trumpers. In fact, they're not even the ones who originated it. They're this idea that if you start making fun of what somebody says, it's because you can't refute what they're saying. But a lot of times when you start making fun of what somebody says, it's because you heard it 50 times before and you got some good jokes. That's a lot of times when you start making fun of what somebody's saying. It's because you already got the jokes, because they ain't telling you nothing new. So this Trump fan is not having a good time with all of this. Sometimes you break down into tears, and it happens to people, but not over this.
Quieter, a little quieter than what it was earlier. I want to bring in a Trump supporter. She is here supporting the president, and you've been to many rallies, so you like to follow him and really show him that you have his back.
I always have his back. I'm about to
He has no idea who you are, lady.
cry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, he's our president. Loves America, loves the people of America. And we have to fight. We have to help him and support him. All of this is lies from the deep of hell. These people are from hell. Okay,
it's evil.
Yes, it's evil. We have the devil reigning right now. I just want to
Hell
cry.
yeah.
What is it about you that makes you cry? You support him so much. You're always around.
Oh, she's in a cult. Like somebody in chat was just saying, she's a member of a cult and she's watching the cult leader go down.
Out here in the
Can you imagine if like Scientology's David Miscavige got arrested? The Scientology tears would fill my studio.
You follow him. What is the most emotional part for you?
The injustice that they're doing to him, the injustice that is happening in America, the injustice.
It's Lenka's mother, Lenka Coloma's mom.
I knew America back in 1962. I know America when it was John F. Kennedy. So
the question, ma'am, is John F. Kennedy still alive?
I know. And I cried when they killed him. I was in second grade and I cried, and I'm 70 years old now and I still love this president.
I would have guessed 94.
Reagan, and I love this president.
Well, let me tell you something. This will hopefully encourage you. President Trump is very strong. He likes to win. He wins a lot. And I don't know how he does what he does, but we're going to pull him through and he's going to pull us through. So wipe those tears from your eyes. We'll be okay. Thank you. Yes, we're glad.
My God, I fucking hope Donald Trump gets convicted of this shit, because just watching everybody melt the fuck down, because I don't think that the movement behind him has like the energy behind it for another J6. So it's just going to be really funny to watch. And honestly, some things about J6 were pretty funny to watch. I mean, they did take a door. And we did watch that live on this show. I watched that with like 4 of you or something. It was before people figured out that, oh, we're actually supposed to hang out in this channel. So speaking of John F. Kennedy, here's a guy in a Q shirt. This is going to be great. I saw the guy in the Q shirt. I saw that it appears to be the Good Liars, and I was like, oh, this one's going to be fun. So I didn't watch even a moment of it.
It's a joke. It's a big hoax. We as a people all know the truth. We know
what is the truth?
The truth is that this is a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you. It's not real. Joe Biden, fake Joe Biden.
What do you mean it's not real?
It's not real.
Like
Joe.
The indictment is not real?
No,
or
I
what?
don't think any of it's real. I think we're watching a movie right now.
Yeah, that's like lifted directly from the Q drops.
Truth. I think we heard that sleepy, creepy Joe is not even with us.
What do you mean he's not with us?
He's not with us. We're watching an actor. We're watching an actor masked up play the part because we got to wake up the people.
So if Joe Biden isn't president now, who is president?
We're going to find out who's president. We're going to find out the truth.
Well, I'm just confused. What does JFK have to do with any of this?
You'll find out.
But wait, do you think he's still alive right now?
Do I think JFK is still alive? Damn right, I think he's still alive. He's never died. JFK never died.
Wouldn't he be like
He's immortal.
13 right now?
He'd be 106.
Oh, excuse me.
He's 106. Well, what's he gonna do for you, buddy? What's he gonna do? Like, shout out to anybody who makes it to 106, but they ain't doing shit for anybody at 106. They need your help. And if somebody in your community lives to be 106, you should help them if you can, if you have the time and the means, because they probably need a hand with a few things. Don't worry, Donald. Good old Lindsey Graham, who I'm sure you don't have any dirt on or whatever. Good old Lindsey Graham has your back.
Oh, I agree. And happy birthday, President Trump, because he's watching this show. So I talked to him. Hey, pal. You had dinner with Melania and Ivanka. We got your back.
So he had dinner with Melania and the First Lady?
President Trump, we have your back.
Former First Lady.
It's not about you. It's about us. You could take the Dalai Lama and make him the Republican nominee that tried to destroy his life. They hate conservatism. This is a bunch
I'm
of
not sure the Dalai Lama was a conservative.
BS. President Trump, you're going to prevail. You're going to be the Republican nominee, and you're going to be president again. Just hang in there. What do you make?
This is amazing. Don't worry, I got more of old Lindsey Graham here too. Here's Lindsey Graham talking about how if you indict President Trump, well, you could indict anyone for breaking the law. But that's how that's supposed to work. Anyway, Lindsey's going to explain it better than I just did.
It seems to be selective prosecution. So President Trump has every right to defend himself. I think politically it probably makes him stronger in the primary. If the special counsel indicts President Trump in Washington, D.C. for anything related to January 6th, that will be considered a major outrage by Republicans, because you could convict any Republican of anything in Washington, D.C., and I fear that's where...
Well, the indictment isn't a conviction, but...
This is going as sort of an insurance policy.
I do have concerns about all the news about misuse of classified information. I happen to be on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and I get classified briefings on a regular basis. And what they did was unacceptable.
What they did wasn't classified.
So Senator Cornyn equating what happened in the case involving Hillary Clinton to what happened with Donald Trump there. That's an often defense that we're hearing from Republicans, even as there are a different set of circumstances and facts in each of those cases. But some of Donald Trump's defenders trying to use the legislative process to pay back the Biden administration of sorts. One of them, Senator J.D. Vance, announcing that he would place a hold on all Justice Department nominees who are not part of the Marshal Service, but U.S. attorneys and the like, until the Justice Department changes its approach to prosecutions going forward. Any individual senator can hold up the process. U.S. attorneys in particular typically are confirmed very quickly on a voice vote, but otherwise it could go through a much more time-consuming process on the Senate floor. So that's what Senator Vance is aiming to do, as Republicans in the House looking at other ways to try to go after the investigation, undercut it by using the funding process on Capitol Hill. Even though not all Republicans are online, some of them lining up behind Donald Trump, trying to defend him as this case unfolds. Rahul?
Manu Raju, thank you.
They're just going to hold up all the nominees in the House. Oh, man, I don't think that's going to work, though. I think, they don't have a big enough majority, and I think there's enough Republicans in the House that are going to break with some of this stuff. I don't think that they're good people or whatever, but I think at some point, pretty soon, I think it's going to start looking politically expedient for some of the careerists in there, some of the people who maybe want to run for president themselves one day, or have people that they're supporting that they'd like to see in the Senate or the House of Representatives. It might be more expedient for them to just jump ship on all this bullshit. Might be a little bit of wishful thinking, but this has to break at some point. So don't worry. Here's Trump's attorney. She's got this covered.
Donald Trump was 100% authorized to keep everything he kept. And it was actually the Department of Justice that actually had to return materials because they took things they were not allowed to possess and had to return them. So if anybody is at fault of having materials...
Wait, no. When they do something like this, yeah, they took a lot of it and some of it wasn't classified and they might have given it back, assuming she's telling the truth.
They're not allowed to possess, it would be the Department of Justice. So, yeah, I think the way that this case has been handled, between the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, I think it speaks for itself. I don't think that this is a very solid case. President Trump had every right to have possession of those documents.
But he said the opposite. He told people that he wasn't supposed to have them. This is a fucking shit show. I think they're just counting on the fact that if this goes to trial, that there'll be people on the jury who will just refuse to convict Donald Trump for like ideological reasons. And I mean, that's not the worst bet to make, honestly. I feel like if what other bet would you make? Like basically jury nullification, where you get some people on the jury who like just sort of nullify the law, essentially. Here's a Tiny Dancer Ben. Suggesting that there's only really one fair way to do these things in the future.
Everybody under the sun is now attacking and attempting to prosecute and put in jail Donald Trump. And so Trump, predictably enough...
No. There's just like 2 cases.
Okay, fine. You want to do it? I'll do it too. And this will be the game from here on out. When the Justice Department gets reduced to pure politics, you got a problem. Now, I hear people screaming, all right, well, but you just said that Trump may have committed criminal activity here. The allegations against him are very strong. That's true. The only way that you actually restore the credibility of the justice system is to have Republicans prosecute Republicans and Democrats prosecute Democrats. Because the minute that this crosses the...
But then nobody would ever... Wait, what? If you're saying, oh, the whole thing's become too politicized, now let's just do it all in a partisan way so that the people prosecuting you are people who are your political allies, well, then everybody's just going to do all the corruption, Ben.
The aisle would become so politically polarized and partisan that if the basic line here is that Republicans are just supposed to accept that Republicans who are guilty of crimes get indicted and Democrats who are guilty of crimes get slots on CNN and MSNBC, that is not a workable solution for anyone. In order to reestablish credibility, when credibility has been lost, when an institution has lost its credibility, everybody has to do something painful. Everybody has to do something. Everybody has to make a sacrifice. The sacrifice in this particular case would be Joe Biden looking at this and saying, listen, I think that he probably committed the crime, but guess what? I'm not going to prosecute him because we believe that
Ben, did you know that Joe Biden is not the one prosecuting Donald Trump? And it is the president isn't supposed to interfere with this in any way.
Should have been prosecuted. Or at the very least, you could, I mean, this would have been an easy call, by the way. The DOJ could have said, at the same time they were doing this, politically speaking, Merrick Garland could have said, we're also bringing charges against Hunter. Right? That would have shielded, because Hunter is clearly guilty of a bevy of crimes up to and including violation of gun law.
But violation of, come on, Ben.
So that could have happened. They didn't do that either.
But those aren't federal crimes, and those things they didn't happen in the same jurisdiction, Ben.
Again, the double standard is what's going to destroy the credibility of the institution. The only way to restore the credibility of the institution is even-handed application of justice against your own side, not when it looks politically valuable to go after your chief political opposition. And that's why this thing is going to remain incredibly polarized.
So when the fucking so first of all, when the charges in Georgia drop, that's going to be a state controlled by Republicans, and I think the charges won't be federal charges; they'll be state charges. And then I don't know what these people are going to say. There's going to be like, "Oh, these are all fake Republicans in Georgia." Yeah, Georgia, a place known for a lot of fake Republicans. Here's this guy John Eastman was advising Trump to pressure Pence to overturn the election, and here he is, not too pleased with he lost his job as a tenured law professor and he's getting disbarred. It's just fucking cancel culture, baby. You love to see it. I don't even know who John Eastman is, but we're gonna enjoy this for sure.
Deter them. They went ahead and filed a notice of disciplinary charges in January, and now the trial begins on Tuesday, and it's a full-fledged trial. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops.
It's a full-fledged trial, everybody, not like that half trial that they tend to do when they do a half of a trial.
It's really extraordinary the amount of taxpayer resources that are going in to trying to disprove claims that I made, or more importantly, that I had no basis whatsoever for making claims that election officials violated.
Wait, no, you're not on trial. I think this guy just lost his fucking tenured professorship and is going to get disbarred. That's not it. You're supposed to be a lawyer, dude.
Law acted unconstitutionally in the conduct of the election. And so that's what the trial will be. And the bar is calling me as its first witness on Tuesday. And the judge has ordered that it's going to be live streamed. So it'll be quite a media circus, I suspect.
That's tomorrow. I wish I had the energy to get up tomorrow morning, because it's probably in the morning. And if it's on the East Coast, it's probably like in the morning. It would be great to live stream this guy getting disbarred. I don't even know who he is really, but he seems like a ghoul, and it would just be a lot of fun to like live stream with them, watch this asshole get disbarred. Up next, we got Jesse Waters, and the 2024 election hasn't happened, but it's already fraudulent.
Let's take another look at that. Look at the bottom of the screen. Ready? Experts warn that inflammatory rhetoric from elected officials or people in power can prompt individual actors to commit acts of violence. Violent rhetoric has escalated in online forums and far-right militia groups since Trump's federal indictment.
Yes. This is the same thing I was saying before J6. They call it in the biz, they call it chatter. The only difference is before J6, it seemed like only the people on the dystopia beat were the ones who saw the chatter.
This is a taxpayer-funded news station. They're using your money and telling you that the guy that you voted for is a dangerous tyrant. This is already not a free and fair election. The media is now hiding both presidential candidates from you. They're hiding Biden so you can't evaluate him, and they're hiding Trump.
That's a dope picture of Joe Biden. Look at that. But it does have a bit of Davis Aruni vibes to it.
You can't be persuaded by him. What kind of presidential election are we going to have where the American voter isn't going to be able to see or hear from either candidate? The media has become the most dangerous thing in the United States. Beware of people who swear they're only trying to protect you.
Wait, but aren't you the media, Jesse Waters? So I think maybe they have some data, some polling data, or some information maybe that we're not privy to that tells us that that Trump may not be the nominee, or that if Trump is the nominee, he's going to get fucking destroyed in the election. And they're like priming the pump for like more of this like election denial shit. My guess would be that they think maybe Trump's done for, and they don't think DeSantis can beat Joe Biden. But I don't know. This is all speculation. I just know that Jesse Waters is a piece of shit. So here's a video. I could watch this all night. We could just do this for the entire show. Check this out.
You want to take a picture with me? A total? Disgrace to the world. Let's just do it and then be
one more time.
Okay? You want to take a picture with me? A total? Disgrace to the world. Let's just do it and then be done, okay?
You get him, little girl. You get him. Oh, so this next one, it's kind of cringe, but we're going to run it anyway. This is a public service announcement.
Are you suffering from Trump arraignment syndrome? Do you find it hard to accept that your favorite former president might have committed a few, oopsies? Well, worry no more. Introducing Trumpitol, the only medication specially designed for MAGA Republicans who just can't accept that Trump is a criminal. With Trumpitol, you'll experience a complete denial of reality right when you need it the most. Trumpitol specifically targets areas of your brain so that you'll be convinced it was all a deep state conspiracy, a witch hunt, or maybe just a huge misunderstanding. Thanks to Trumpitol, I don't have to read any of those dumb indictments. I mean, who needs the truth when you got a pill? Trumpitol is not responsible for any side effects, such as strained relationships, ignoring facts, losing touch with reality, or an uncontrollable sexual attraction to your own daughter.
Oh shit,
hey,
okay.
That's a small price to pay for your unwavering devotion. So if you're tired of those pesky legal proceedings and those annoying voices that tell you truth matters, look no further. Trumpitol is here to help. Trumpitol, making denial great again. Warning, Trumpitol is not approved by reality. Please consult a sane person.
Told you that was a little cringe, but we're going to watch it anyway. This one is also a little cringe, but we're going to watch it anyway here.
Is there anything more heartbreaking than the tears of a conservative?
My heart is broken. I had some tears in my eyes.
Every single hour, all across America's conservative TV networks, another sad Republican cries about Donald Trump's indictment.
Looking a little emotional. I feel the same way.
I know voodoo's legal in New York, but this is legal voodoo.
We didn't get so much as a speeding ticket before my father went into office. At some point, the guy deserves a pass.
I don't really feel right now, living in this police state.
This is like communist level shit.
These men are suffering because Trump is suffering the consequences of his actions.
Men that were tough and strong, and they saw me and they were crying.
These aren't emotional people, and they have tears in their eyes.
Tears coming down their eyes.
You can help these big, strong, weak little bitches.
Give the president some money to fight this bullshit. Give money so he can defend himself. Give the man some money.
You heard that blubbering elf. Call now, before it's too late, or before Trump gets charged with his next crime, or his next one, or his next one. You get it.
Told you, little cringe, but we had to run it here. So they've been talking about the supposed Hunter and Joe Biden whistleblower for like kind of a long time, but they haven't presented this whistleblower. We haven't seen this whistleblower. We haven't heard any statements that this whistleblower has allegedly made. Nothing like that at all. Nothing from the alleged whistleblower. So here's a couple clips about the whistleblower or lack thereof.
With Joe Biden accepting the bribe, that he used that as an insurance policy.
This oligarch was a high-ranking member or owner of Burisma?
Yes, that is exactly right. So
have you had any contact with him?
Unfortunately, nobody's had any contact with him for the last 3 years. You know,
because he doesn't exist.
NBC makes fun of me when I said that there are a lot of people that were involved in the Biden shenanigans that are currently missing. But with respect to this oligarch,
this is like, I have a girlfriend. She lives in Canada. No, you can't meet her.
Know where he is. He just hasn't been seen in public in a long time. But we're following the money. We've subpoenaed bank records last week that are coming in as we speak, that we're hopeful that will show some more signs of some influence peddling in countries, including you.
Oh, you. This is great. Here's more about the whistleblower. This one's going to be Rudy talking about the whistleblower. Surely if Rudy Giuliani thinks the whistleblower is real and I don't know, lives in Canada and you can't meet them, then this must be a real whistleblower and not just a whole pack of bullshit.
On a day in which we find out that the Bidens took a $10 million bribe from a Ukrainian, Mykola Zlochevsky, which I could have told you, and did tell them 3 years ago. And they followed up on none of the evidence I gave them. They were hoping the people would disappear or die. It's extraordinary. I gave them one witness that any investigator would jump through hoops to go to. Gave them a witness who is a woman who was the chief accountant at this crooked company, Burisma. She was the wife of the former owner who died under suspicious circumstances. And she was willing to give up all of the offshore bank accounts, including the Bidens.
And then what happened? Oh, she doesn't exist. One of these people got taken for a ride by people pretending to be whistleblowers. They like got emails from like whistleblower at AOL.com or some shit. Like I could just imagine like this being like this being like a bunch of trolls, because I feel like these aren't the due diligence types of people, right? You send Rudy Giuliani an email telling him you have the goods on Joe and or Hunter Biden, and he's just going to be inclined to believe you. Here's Marge, Marjorie the Gathering. Here she is also talking about the whistleblower.
What you're paying him for. So that guy recording these audio clips was a really smart thing for him to do. And so we need to find out, does he have those country is being involved in because our president is corrupt and it was involved in this type of unbelievable so-called business deals. But I think the country deserves better. And if things were right, Joe Biden literally would have been hauled out of the White House in handcuffs.
But I thought you can't indict a sitting president. Isn't that what you were saying when the other guy was the president?
For this information. But the director, Christopher Wray of the FBI, thinks that this unclassified form should not be shown to the American people and force us to read it in a skip. It's make this up.
I don't know if that's true because we don't have access to whatever this document is because we don't have access to it. So she might just not know the difference, or she could, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Marjorie the Gathering might be lying. So we don't really play clips from MSNBC, and we certainly don't play clips from Rachel Maddow generally. But I have some thoughts on this right now.
Judges are supposed to. Now, I need to say that former President Trump has just started making public remarks, just as he did on the evening of his first arraignment on criminal charges. That was April, when he was booked on 34 felony counts brought by the state of New York. Now, tonight, after his arraignment on federal felony charges, he's speaking again, this time to an audience of his supporters that's gathered for a campaign fundraiser tonight at his golf club and summer home in New Jersey. We knew heading into this that he was planning to make these remarks. We are prepared for his pre-fundraiser remarks tonight to again be essentially a Trump campaign speech. Because of that, we do not intend to carry these remarks live. As we have said before in these circumstances, there is a cost to us as a news organization to knowingly broadcast untrue things. We are here to bring you the news. It hurts our ability to do that if we live broadcast what we fully expect in advance to be a litany of lies and false accusations, no matter who says them. And I do not say this with any glee. I hope it is clear that this is not a glib decision. We take our responsibilities seriously. We revisit decisions like this all the time. We make the best call that we can in real time, every time. But tonight, our call is this. We will monitor that speech by the newly indicted former president. We will not carry his remarks live. If he says anything newsworthy, we promise we will turn that right around and bring it back to you.
So this would all be well and good if this lady didn't burn down her fucking career during the Mueller investigation by fucking chasing ghosts in the night. Any rumor, any little tidbit of whatever the fuck she thought she could find about Trump and Russia, she would just report on it. Like, she gave like a few friends of mine brainworms during the Russia investigation. So it's not that people shouldn't have reported on that. It's like her reporting on it was irresponsible. She reported on a lot of rumor and innuendo. And she herself spent a lot of time fucking speculating. And so like, just coming from her after what happened during the Mueller investigation, like this kind of, for me, it falls real flat. And I'm not saying the news organization shouldn't have covered the Mueller investigation, but they certainly could have. And many did. They certainly should have done it in a much more responsible way than Rachel Maddow did. And she did it all for viewers, and she burned down her career and lost credibility in the process. And that's a shame. Not everybody necessarily liked her delivery or whatever, but she was generally a pretty good reporter and then a pretty good anchor. And, well, now she got a podcast and she comes on MSNBC like once a week. So it is what it is. Here's apparently the House GOP is trying to ban pride flags at the Department of Veterans Affairs facilities because it's too woke. And, Representative Mark Pocan is like, well, no.
Mr. Pocan.
Oh, Pocan.
Madam Chair. So I guess this is the anti-woke amendment. I know some of your folks talked about the beginning of the session. We're cutting a couple $100 million from construction for veterans, and then we're combining it with the culture wars. Now, granted, The word war would maybe have something to do with this bill, but most of the other provisions in this amendment have very little to do with a MILCON bill, talking about abortion and gender-affirming care, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and apparently the fear of some cloth, banning pride flags at our veterans facilities across the country. I don't know if you know it, but simply looking at a pride flag will not make you gay. So that is not a concern you should have. But
what if it did, though? That'd be great.
This is the amendment to really be anti-woke. Why are you stopping here? Let's go full gusto, all right? Let me suggest some other things. Why don't we ban Bud Light, right? Because I believe drinking Bud Light makes you gay. Isn't that the new thing that some folks are saying? Chick-fil-A. I know this has got to hurt when I say it, but Chick-fil-A has an executive now in charge of diversity, equity, inclusion. They're out of here if we're going to make this anti-woke. NASCAR, NFL, Major League Baseball, no more. We can't show them on TVs in any facilities for veterans because they've all celebrated Pride Month. So, let's do this right if we're going to go there. Some other areas, maybe a study on military decorations. When you think about all the medals that people wear and the beautiful shades of red and orange and yellow and green and blue and purple, now, that could be misconstrued by some people, so perhaps we should have something a little more manly. Maybe we give out bullets instead, right? Because most mass shootings are done by men. The only problem is we can't give that to women because that might send the wrong message. Barracks. We should ban bunk beds in barracks. Think about it. Men sleeping on top of or on the bottom of other men. I mean, we don't even want to go there.
Get him, old man.
Issues. So
get him, Mr. Clean.
Ban barracks, bunk beds in barracks. Look, I get anti-woke, but at some point, anti-woke is also anti-sane, and we look ridiculous. There is an article in Newsweek magazine, the last 48 hours, talking about how all of this anti-LGBTQI plus stuff that is going on is exactly out of Vladimir Putin's playbook. In fact, someone who left Russia said those exact words. And here we are putting Vladimir Putin's playbook into a MILCON bill. What we need to remember is there are 65,000 active duty people in the military right now who identify as LGBTQI+. 1 million veterans who have served our country who identify as that. So instead, we should be saying thank you, not get lost, hit the road, or just leave. And that is the message every time we put this anti-wokeness into something that should be a very responsible MILCON bill. And instead, here we are thanking Uncle Vlad and putting his policies into this. Look, this amendment and this bill fail our veterans, especially our LGBTQ veterans, and I will oppose it.
Get him, Mr. Clean. The leaning on Vladimir Putin stuff I kind of don't like, but it certainly speaks to a specific audience that he might be trying to appeal to. So I do understand. I don't know if I don't think this moral panic about queer people is a Russian op. I think this is just kind of homegrown hate. Anyway, you're not going to believe this next one. Here's George Santos talking about preserving the integrity of the House of Representatives.
Hi, Congressman George Santos here. I'm here today to talk about Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna's resolution to censure Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman Schiff continually pursued scurrilous accusations against President Trump for the entirety of his presidency, alleging that the president and his campaign colluded with the Russian government. This has now been proven to be patently false.
That's not what anybody proved it to be. People around Trump got fucking indicted for this shit.
As if it wasn't a painfully obvious witch hunt before. Additionally, the measure would fine the former House Intelligence Committee chairman $16 million, just half the cost of the fabricated investigation. Congressman Schiff abused...
I'm sorry, is this what it looks like when other gay men refuse to do your hair for you?
...his power to pursue the Trump campaign and its campaign staff. This abhorrent behavior is unacceptable for a member of Congress. Congressman Schiff has called this resolution to censure a, quote, terrible misuse of House precedent and resources, and an attack on the Constitution. I would suggest Congressman Schiff look inward and more closely consider his remarks. This investigation is what, in fact, was a terrible waste and misuse of taxpayer money. To not carry out a censure would be a miscarriage of justice and a dereliction of our sworn duty as members of the House of Representatives. We must preserve the integrity of the U.S. House.
Get the fuck out of here.
And censure Adam Schiff today.
Go win a volleyball tournament about it, you fucking weirdo. Did you at the end, there was some kind of weird mic drop moment at the end where he like leaned back like he was like, I don't know, the fucking like a gangster or something. Get the fuck out of here. Well, you know what's fucked up though? This guy might get reelected. I'm not kidding. Next time he's up for you think that you're going to bet against him in 2024? I'm not. Here's JD Vance is calling for. You just got to hear this. This is some Peter Thiel shit right here. Check this out.
It's hugely significant. And this is the argument I make. Look, I've endorsed Donald Trump, but I would make this argument to people who are not going to support Donald Trump. This is really not about who was president. It's about the office of the presidency itself. Do you use that office to harass your political opponents, or do you use that office to enforce the law?
The Miami federal prosecutor, not the president, is the one who filed the charges.
What we're seeing here is such selective enforcement that you're absolutely right. It's going to destroy the people's faith in equal administration of the law. If you have Democrats facing one set of principles and Republicans facing the harshest application of the law, then you're going to eliminate people's faith that the law is about what you do and whether you do it the right way and not about politics.
Military? Who's going to sign up for that military?
That's exactly right. Why are you going to sign up for a military?
We're already having problems recruiting for the military for whatever reason.
Why are you going to send your kids to law school? Why are you going to pay your taxes? The entire foundation of this country is that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we all face the same justice system. Joe Biden's Department of Justice is going to war against that principle. They're going to break the country unless we stop it.
JD.
It's the prosecutor's office, a federal prosecutor from Florida, no less, is the one who leveled the charges, not the president of the United States. The president of the United States has actually not said shit about it because that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to not say shit about ongoing investigations and prosecutions by the Justice Department. If Hillary Clinton would have been indicted by the Justice Department when Trump was the president, my God, he would have been running his mouth about that shit. He would have been talking about it in his sleep next to Ivanka. Like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, here's a guy we haven't seen in a while. It's Bill Mitchell, terrifying goblin of a man. Apparently, he's not on that Trump train anymore. This guy was a big QAnon guy during the height of QAnon. Not on the Trump train. Pretty weird.
I have come to an epiphany, a moment, and I announced this on my Twitter feed the other day, that I am all in for Governor DeSantis become the GOP nominee. And if President Trump somehow makes it across the finish line, overcomes all these indictments, all these problems, all these unforced errors, the lies, the obfuscations, the moving left, if somehow his core base drags him across the finish line and he becomes the GOP nominee, I will be stepping down as a political pundit because...
To be fair, I haven't run a video of you in almost 2 fucking years. I thought you had already stepped down. Fucking pilled ass weirdo.
At that point, the GOP will no longer make any sense to me. And I feel like we will, as a nation, have missed an incredible opportunity to turn over the reins to one of the most competent, intelligent, strategic, faith-based, character-based leaders of our generation.
Dude, when you've lost Adrenochrome Bill, I think things are looking bad. Literally, this dude was fucking in like 2020. This dude was on his channel talking about like drinking baby blood and shit. Dude was fucking just, I mean, he might have invented the pill that everybody else was pilled on. That was one of the most QAnon ass motherfuckers in the whole world. And he's like not on the Trump train. Shit's going to get weird. If that guy then comes out and endorses Joe Biden, shit's going to get weird. Anyway, here's Paul Gosar. He's going to talk about deputizing the citizens to look over the J6 videos for Antifa, which is a little bit weird.
Well, I like the fact that you said it was an opportunity, because I want to go back to those videotapes. A picture's worth 1,000 words, is it? Is it
Correct.
wrong?
Yes.
They're all going to come after us regardless.
Yes, sir.
So it seems to me like we ought to be making this big push and maybe turn the tide. And for example, how about a bounty? Make everybody deputies. And look in those tapes as to...
Did you hear that fucking person? Listen.
People that are... look in those tapes as to people that... Make everybody deputies. And look...
Somebody's hot mic was like...
look in those tapes as to people that are undercover. Antifa.
The pipe bomber.
Yeah, absolutely right.
The pipe bomber must have been Antifa. The running hypothesis in the chat is that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh man, that guy. If you deputize everybody, well, most of the people, like, more people voted for Joe Biden. So if you deputize everybody, most of the deputies are going to be not on your side. You stupid motherfucker. Here's Fox and Friends accusing the White House of violating the flag code, which, by the way, isn't really a law, and it's kind of stupid. But also, I'd be willing to bet that the White House didn't violate whatever the flag code is. They probably asked before they did whatever this is.
I just want to get your thoughts very quickly. The administration celebrating Pride Month in the LGBTQ plus community with a display at the White House. I want to show it for the folks at home. They're being accused of violating the U.S. flag code over a Pride Month display. Basically, this display has the pride flag in the middle of it. Anyone who knows the law knows that you have to have the American flag in the middle. And
that's not even the flag code. It talks about that the American flag can't be lower than other flags. It doesn't say that it has to be in the middle. But the flag code's also fucking stupid.
Circumstance like that, and it's to be elevated. Your quick thoughts on that before we go.
Yeah, it might seem like just a tasteless violation of flag etiquette here, but the message that the Biden administration is sending is pretty clear. This ideology runs America. It's the new state religion.
Fuck yeah.
A lot of Americans see this and are offended by it, not because they oppose equal rights, not because
the 28th Amendment, be gay and do crime.
Because they oppose, love who you love. It's because they see this flag and they see the destruction of women's sports and women's private spaces, the indoctrination of their children, the politicization of the medical community. This is what happens. In California just this week, California Democrats are trying to pass a law that would criminalize parents who refuse to use their children's preferred pronouns.
No, they're not passing. There's no such law. They're trying to Bill C-16 that shit. I don't even know what the law is.
A lot of Americans see that and recognize that.
Kaylee McGee-White, Washington Examiner. Kaylee McGee-White. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. We'll have you back. Thanks again.
Fuck the flag code, but also I guarantee, like, whatever the flag code is, they didn't violate it. Anyway, we don't cover a lot of country music, people, but here's Garth Brooks. Kind of a real one.
Let's address two things on it. One is diversity, inclusiveness. That's me. It's always been me. We got the same kind of thing on We Shall Be Free. People, wanting to burn our stuff. And so I get it. Everybody's got their opinions. But inclusiveness is always going to be me. I think diversity is the answer to the problems that are here and the answer to the problems that are coming. So I love diversity, all included, so all are welcome. I understand that might not be other people's opinions, but that's okay, man. They have their opinions, they have their beliefs, I have mine. Second thing though, let's talk about being a bar owner. I'm a bar owner now. Are we going to have the most popular beers in the thing? Yes. It's not our call if we don't or not. It's the patrons' call, the bosses, right? Bring them in there. If they don't want it, then I got to go to the distributor and say, hey man, your stuff's not selling. And then action gets taken, right? But the truth is, it's those people in those seats that make those decisions. And that's what Friends in Low Places is going to be. So here's the deal, man. If you want to come to Friends in Low Places, come in. But come in with love. Come in with tolerance, patience. Come in with an open mind. And it's cool. And if you're one of those people that just can't do that, I get it. If you ever are one of those people that want to try it, come. Let's go have some fun, okay? So I don't know how to explain it any better than that, other than what was just said. So we good? Good.
Oh man, you just gotta love like a good old boy, just being like, hey, stop being an asshole. And like what he said about the beer is true. If the beer you have on tap or in the fridge isn't selling, you go to the distributor, you go, don't bring me any more of this because we're not able to sell it. Get me a different beer. It's just business, baby. That's how you run a bar. And if the Bud Light doesn't sell, fucking yeah, he'll get rid of the Bud Light at the bar. But not for any like sort of culture war reason, just because he's a capitalist. He wants to sell you more beer. And so if there's a beer you'd rather have at his bar, it's probably overpriced bar. Let's get real here. A Bud Light ain't going to be no $5 at this guy's bar. It'll be 12. But Harrison Ford always kind of been outspoken and generally right about things. Check this out.
In terms of real life resonance, Indiana Jones has taken on this elevated symbolic significance in recent years because we've actually seen, bizarrely, proliferation of actual real life Nazis parading around, and some of them are getting punched. So what I want to know is, would the ultimate Nazi puncher, Indiana Jones, would he support these people doing the punching?
He'd push him out of the way to get in the first punch. As well he should.
Yeah.
That was a black and white world, and this evil presented itself to the world. It's incalculable that this vision of evil not be confronted.
Man, that guy's crashed a lot of airplanes and still seems to have his wits about him too. I don't know if you look up Harrison Ford. I don't know if he's crashed a lot of airplanes, but he's crashed airplanes. That's the right answer though. It's like actually Indiana Jones would be like me first, or you first after me. So here's a guy named Kent Christmas. He's going to talk about being born in blood, and this is like a straight up like incitement right here. Shout out to Right Wing Watch, by the way. Couldn't do this show without Right Wing Watch.
I am at war with evil. Hallelujah. This is one preacher that's not backing down. I can tell you this, I will give my life for the gospel.
Oh, no, you won't. You're a grifter.
You want to know why the Muslim faith has had its advancements? It's because the Muslims were willing to die for their belief. They were willing to strap bombs to their chest. They believed in the afterlife. God, give us some men and women that'll get a hold of some passion in their spirit.
Whoa. Just like straight up, the guy right here in the middle is raising his hand, but it's not in praise. He's like, sir, are you calling for terrorism?
Will lay down my life for the gospel. This thing was born in blood.
Well, just walking right up to that line, aren't we, Kent Christmas? Right up to that line. Right up to that inciting violence line. Just right up to it. We are still in the religious batshittery part of the docket. I have a feeling the show's not going to go 2 hours this week, but that's okay. We're giving the we're giving the whole show out to the members. Here is two of our favorite people, obviously. We got Kirk Cameron and we got Sean Feucht, and they're going to talk about a country where Christians are making the laws, because that's never been the case in the United States. None of the presidents, not even all of them, have ever been a Christian.
Freedom isn't free
it requires us to love God, get back to the original American covenant of being in relationship with God and helping one another, and then applying all that to church, family, and civil government.
What is your take on this? Because I mean, I get hit with this all the time. It's kind of,
the body language looks like he would be saying, "What are you thinking about?"
it's actually, in some ways, I've kind of just admitted to it. But like,
I hope they kiss.
Rolling Stone came out with an article last week. I was speaking at a church, and I just said, you know what? This talk of Christian nationalism, this pushback against Christianity, against doing this kind of things, because people say,
is that a coloring book?
Deconstructed former Christians would say, you don't need to shove God in everything. And I said this, I said, listen, this is what they hit me on. I want a country where Christians are making the laws. I want a country where believers are engaged in every sphere of society.
Did you know that the United States was formed by a bunch of people who didn't think the Church of England should be making the laws, among other things, but that was one of their gripes.
A country where, God, like, there is no law outside of the biblical moral law. Like, that is the only compass in all of human history. Where else are you going to base your law? And so I began to speak about this, and it was funny because they did this big article and it causes pushback, and all these Satanists and anarchists and psycho people were sending me death threats. But I actually do believe...
You didn't get any death threats. Nobody wanted to kill fucking Noodle Hair. Yeah, just straight up white Christian nationalism. That's all that is. Just straight up. Not even trying to pretend that's not the case. So, our next story, we're moving into, well, the sort of misinformation, disinformation part of the show. There's a video that went around of somebody harassing Dr. Peter Hotez. We're not going to run that. I'm not going to run a video of somebody harassing a man at his own home on Father's Day. But what I will say, and maybe I'll be a little careful here, a guy who went to Peter Hotez's house on Father's Day to harass him, be glad that I'm not that man's son. So here's Mr. Hotez on a show of I've seen this guy's show. This is Pete Dominic. He's generally does like kind of pro-science skeptical content. And he's talking about the harassment that he's been subject to by Joe Rogan and Elon Musk.
He would have you on because you are a respected, credible voice. And I'm not sure how much he challenged you at that point, but when COVID began and he started trafficking in some of these conspiracy theories and having doubts and all of that, you contacted Joe via email, via DM on Twitter. You guys had correspondence before, and he never replied to you. Is that correct?
Well, I was on twice on, I don't know if it was called the Joe Rogan Experience or what, but back when he was in LA before he moved it to Austin. And what's that?
Pre-COVID.
Well, once was pre-COVID, once was as COVID was getting underway. Okay. And he could be challenging, and I can't say it was totally smooth, but it was reasonable, and I thought it was a very good discussion. Again, how we're making vaccines, out of the pharma sector, doing this nonprofit, making vaccines for the world. And then afterwards, he came to Houston for his comedy show in the Toyota Center. And I went backstage with my youngest son, and we hung out, had a beer. It was fun, and I even thought of him as sort of a friend of sorts. And then when COVID really started getting bad, I wrote to him, emailed him several times in 2021, and then no response, and once more in 2022. One, to talk about our vaccines, and again, how we're bypassing the pharma sector. And also, I was concerned because he was starting to invite some pretty hard-hitting anti-vaccine types on his show, and as that Delta wave was starting to roll through the South, through the southern states and my state of Texas, you were seeing all these unvaccinated Texans and my neighbors losing their lives because they believed the anti-vaccine disinformation. And I wanted to come on and, tell people to get their vaccines. But at that time, he didn't respond.
Never responded to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And now he wants this guy to come on and debate Crank, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has no medical background. None at all. So here's him on the Mehdi Hassan show responding to this too. And I think he's doing this right. He's not going to debate RFK Jr. If RFK Jr. wants to get up into this conversation, we have a process by which he could do it. He could publish a paper, put it in a journal, subject it to peer review. That's work. And also then you're getting subjected to peer review. Unfortunately, if we did real peer review, other cranks would just look at it, right? So, we'll see how this all shakes out, but I have a feeling by next week we'll have largely forgot about this because Dr. Hotez is handling this pretty well.
Contrary to what RFK Jr. and other anti-vax nuts have claimed, there is no connection between vaccines and autism, no connection, no established documented connection between vaccines and serious diseases or mass death. Vaccines tend to save lives across the board, do they not? That's what the peer-reviewed evidence overwhelmingly shows, does it not? And people are dying right now from COVID still because the evidence on COVID vaccines' efficacy is being ignored or shouted down on social media.
Well, there's three or four moving parts to this. So I'm a vaccine scientist. I make low-cost, patent-free vaccines for low and middle-income countries. We made 100 million doses of. We made 2 vaccine prototypes that led to 100 million doses being administered in India and Indonesia. No patents, minimal strings attached. So we actually found a way to bypass the pharma companies, and yet RFK Jr. incessantly calls me a pharma shill when, if anything, our vaccines maybe kept Pfizer and Moderna out of markets in India and in Indonesia. So I don't understand that piece. And then the reason I got involved with RFK Jr. in the first place is I have an adult daughter, Rachel, who has autism and intellectual disabilities, and wrote the book Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism, that refuted all of his false claims. And that's been, he's been kind of after me ever since then. And now he's at it again. But this time, Ilana, this time, Eddie, it's caused something really terrible, and that is during our COVID pandemic. I have a new book coming out that basically says 200,000 Americans needlessly perished because they believed the anti-vaccine disinformation and refused to take a COVID vaccine during our Delta wave and BA1 Omicron wave in 2021-22 after vaccines were widely available. So the point is, anti-vaccine disinformation, it's always done a lot of damage and harm, but now it's a lethal force in the United States. And that's why we have to have that discussion. And I offered to come and go on Joe Rogan again. I've been on a couple of times and have that discussion with him, but not to turn it into the Jerry Springer show with having RFK Jr. on.
Well, so it's sad because I said I'm so fed up with the debate me, because it's not really about the debate. If it was about finding out information, as you said, you've already written about vaccines and autism. You've already spoken and written about COVID vaccines. I think you've been on MSNBC and other channels hundreds of times since the start of the pandemic. People can hear your views and the evidence you bring to this. So they're not actually interested in evidence. And it sadly means that you're a man who basically has saved lives abroad with the vaccines you've developed, whereas RFK has contributed to a culture, a vaccine misinformation culture, that has led to the deaths, as you say, of hundreds of thousands of lives, and yet he's the one being celebrated by tech billionaires like Musk and Jack Dorsey, while you're being smeared and defamed. And I would say, I don't know if you've agreed to debate or not. My advice is not to, and people might find that surprising because I wrote a book about debate, but I just think there's a time and a place for a debate. I don't think a historian of World War II should debate a Holocaust denier. I think that's the point. Yeah. I don't think these debates between experts and cranks do anything other than elevate the cranks.
Yep, that's it right there. The other one is and one of the things I get mad about with the so-called skeptic community is there's this group of skeptics who are just debating like a bunch of flat earthers. They were doing it all through COVID too. They weren't and they're like skilled rhetoricians. They do a good job when they're debating people, but they had been debating flat earthers before, and they were, pretty, it was pretty funny because they would humiliate the flat earther. But then during COVID, none of them switched to debating like anti-vaccine propagandists, right? Now, these aren't like doctors or medical professionals or whatever. These are talking heads like me. And that's who should be debating the anti-vaccine propagandists, because their job is rhetoric, and so is the other parties. So that's like my take on this. If RFK Jr. wants to debate somebody about vaccines, I'm your Huckleberry baby. I also don't know. I'm also not a medical expert, and I have strong opinions on vaccination. I'll talk to you, motherfucker. The difference is I won't be polite. I'd tell him that he's worse than Ted Kennedy. Anyway, here's Matt Taibbi on the fucking Jesse Waters show. I can't believe, like, yeah, he'd get gay Steve. I'd show up like fucking 5 drinks in. Anyway, here's Matt Taibbi talking to Jesse Waters.
Really quickly, please give the U.S. journalists some advice on how they should go about pursuing this story, because Grassley and Comer can't do everything. The press has to get involved here. How would you, as an investigative journalist, pursue this story about audio tapes of Joe Biden with Burisma?
If he doesn't say, I would find the tapes, if the first thing out of his mouth isn't, well, I would need to find the tapes before I do anything with them, which isn't what he's going to say, right? He's going to act like the tapes exist.
I mean, I always think that journalists can't go wrong if they just, print whatever is true. I think if you go into the story with the idea that you don't really care, who the characters are and whether or not the results are going to favor one party or another, the important thing is just to figure out what actually happened and tell the audience that information and leave it up to them.
Is that what you do with the Twitter files?
That information. That's how they should go about it. And the fact that they haven't done that is why they've lost so much trust and so much audience in the last 5 or 6 years.
You're right about that. Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
So the answer wasn't, well, I would need to find the tapes, because that's the answer, right? If you're like, hey, there are these tapes, and how would you report on them? I'd be like, well, the first thing I would do is find them and listen to them. I'm looking into something right now where first thing I need to do is find out what the fuck's going on and get some reliable information about it. And that wasn't his answer. He's like, oh, just print the truth. Well, it's like, well, that's no. This guy was like a stenographer for Apartheid Clyde for a while, until Apartheid Clyde got mad at him for not leaving Substack for Twitter. And all he did was took information that Elon Musk gave him and printed it. And that's like not even, it's stenography. So the answer there, I'm just telling you, the easy answer is, well, where are the tapes? Do we have the tapes? Oh, we don't have the tapes? Nothing to report about the tapes at this time then. My God. Well, here's RFK. Here's a couple clips of RFK Jr.'s last appearance on Joe Rogan. One of the unfortunate things is that Joe Rogan, or somebody who works with him, is a bit of a litigious sort. And we couldn't, for example, if we wanted to, run this interview in long form and talk about it, because I would probably end up, if I made habit of that, I'd probably end up with some DMCA claims on my Twitch account. But here's the first clip that Michael Hobbs of the Maintenance Phase podcast, also of If Books Could Kill. That's the first clip here that he pulled of this.
Well, Wi-Fi radiation does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer.
No, you just drop your connection if you're on Wi-Fi. That's why I run cables to the audio computers here. That's the problem with Wi-Fi, is you just lose your connection. Shouldn't stream on Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi radiation causes cancer. From your cell phone. I mean, there's cell phone tumors. I'm representing hundreds of people who have cell phone tumors behind the ear. It's always on the ear that you favor with your cell phone. We have decided.
You're not representing people. You're not doing any fucking cases. He's just lying right now.
So if anybody lets us in front of a jury, it will be over.
So what is the number? Because a lot of people.
There's a lot of people with it. They're glioblastomas. That's the kind of cancers that they get. But cancer's not the worst thing. They also, it opens up. Wi-Fi radiation opens up your blood-brain barrier, and so all these toxins that are in your body can now go into your brain.
How does Wi-Fi radiation open up your blood-brain barrier?
Yeah, now
it doesn't.
Beyond my expertise, but there are. I'm going to use a number here, and you're going to think it's hyperbole, but it's not. There are tens of thousands of studies that show the horrendous danger of Wi-Fi radiation.
Are there? The problem, like this, there's studies. Okay, well, my next question is always like, well, how did those studies do when they were subjected to peer review? Did they do well? Did they do poorly? Because like anybody can publish things. There's a lot of pay-to-play journals out there where people with an agenda or people who just did bad work can publish things. So the fact that there's a lot of studies, it doesn't really matter. Like you gotta like wonder like, well, what did the peer review of this look like? And who knows? I would imagine, not great. So here's RFK Jr. on old Jordy Pete's show. This is literally, I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
I've seen the climate apocalypse use fear to induce something approximating the same kind of level of tyranny, as far as I'm concerned, that characterized the vaccine lockdown. Help me sort that out and understand where you stand.
I see these huge levels of depression and despair, loneliness in kids, and I don't think that there's a single cause to it. And I think blaming it on, depression about climate is probably oversimplistic. And in fact, I think a lot of the problems we see in kids, and particularly boys, it's probably underappreciated that how much of that is coming from chemical exposures, including a lot of the sexual dysphoria that we're seeing. They're swimming through a soup of toxic chemicals today, and many of those are endocrine disruptors. There's atrazine throughout our water supply. Atrazine, by the way, if you in a lab put atrazine in a tank full of frogs, it will chemically castrate and forcibly feminize every frog in there, and 10% of the frogs, the male frogs, will turn into fully viable females able to produce viable eggs. If it's doing that to frogs, it could. There's a lot of other evidence that it's doing it to human beings as well.
One, you're not a frog, and two, well, mostly you're just not a frog. That's it. Yeah, we don't know, like, on the study they're talking about, we don't know, was there a lot of, was there like extra male frogs in the population? We just don't know. I haven't read the study. Maybe we'll have Marcus on. Maybe we need to probably have Marcus on the show soon to like talk about some medical misinformation, because there's a lot of shit going on. And I like Marcus. So here's Dave Rubin in fucking Orban's Hungary, a place where they're trying to outlaw being gay, but it's, Dave's, one of the good ones. And he's talking to Rod Dreher, and they're going to talk about how sweet and nice Viktor Orban is.
Viktor Orban, I've come to find out since then. I've met him a couple more times and read more about him now that I live here. He's everywhere. Here's a man who is a real visionary. And Americans just don't know about it because our media and the Republican establishment are keeping him at arm's length. But when I invite Americans over, I meet you coming over here. If you meet Orban, or if you spend any time...
Like, dude, you're like an American expat that moved to Hungary because you like the fascism.
You realize he is not, and this country is not what we're told. And in fact, this guy, I think, sees the future for the right.
I told you, I just spent 15 minutes with him. By chance, we walked over there and he was able to say hi. Friendly, warm, and just immediately just wanted to tell me why he loves this country.
Does Dave know what useful idiot means? He hates communism, so I thought he should know what useful idiot means.
And in essence, to distill it down, he basically said, it's our country and we don't want to be told how to live. And I thought, man, we could use a little of that.
Absolutely.
In America.
He was talking about how the virus, he calls it a virus, of wokeness, of gender ideology, of open borders migration, all of it is designed to dissolve
Oh, but you're not going to mention what he said about homosexual men because Dave's sitting there.
Nation state and to dissolve peoples. If we are going to hold on to what makes us who we are, we need to stand up against it, call it out for what it is, and don't be fooled by it. Well, what we have to do is unite our country, America, around the...
But I thought you said you live in Hungary now.
...of the Constitution. And not to be afraid to talk about the importance of free speech and things that are in the Bill of Rights that are under constant attack by the woke. When you see what DeSantis is doing in Florida by going in taking on woke capitalism with Disney and trying to get DEI and wokeness out of the schools. That's pure Orban, and it's
that's bad.
That's going to work.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, Dave's a useful idiot for somebody like Viktor Orban, right? Because Orban, he's an American citizen, so, you know, I don't think that Orban would have him arrested or anything for being gay in his country. That would cause an international incident, and Orban doesn't really want an international incident. But also, somebody like Dave Rubin's pretty useful to somebody like Viktor Orban, right? Like on the international stage, Dave has a non-insignificant following and viewership, full of a lot of right-wingers, people who Orban might want to cozy up to, people who aren't just like regular, just your standard right winger, but maybe some people with power, people who pull the levers of power in the United States and possibly in Europe. So yeah, Dave's a useful idiot. If you asked him what that meant, he would just say, oh, it's a communist thing. I don't know. It's bad. But that's because if he knew what it meant, oh, he'd probably still be one, actually. He'd be like, oh, that's what I'm doing right now. Have you seen my bank account? Have you seen my pool? Anyway, here's Jack Posobiec claiming that he had to explain to Charlie Kirk what a glory hole is, and I'm just not buying this. I mean, I understand that the clip's going to be what it is, but I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk knew what a glory hole is. He's just trying to pretend to be like some kind of wholesome Christian guy now instead of like some kind of secular libertarian free speech guy.
Matt Walsh tweeted something interesting. What is that?
This is certainly the type of thing that we wouldn't normally be able to talk about, but here we are on Thought Crime, and we can talk about this now. Matt Walsh has tweeted that that Daily Wire obtained internal documents from Fox News employees that Fox Corp is celebrating Pride Month by encouraging employees to read about, quote, glory holes.
I'd love to be the person at Fox News if this is true, which, you know, but I'd love to be the person at Fox News that got to write the glory hole memo. It would live in infamy. Gay Dave and the glory hole memo, a Fox News story.
Supporting a group that gives sterilization hormones to homeless youth and deployed woke AI to monitor everyone.
What is a glory hole?
Oh, shut up, Charlie.
I want to see if there's an actual definition here.
Is this something that is considered to be commonplace knowledge?
Yes, Charlie. Yes, and you know what it is.
I think there was I think there was a certain senator from Idaho.
It is a type of sexual paraphernalia, I guess you could say.
Paraphernalia?
Is it I think there was something of paraphernalia.
No, it's not.
Senator from Idaho.
Why is it disgusting?
Cookies for Google knows about this forever. Your ads are going to be like that for the rest of time now.
Disgusting.
Wait, Charlie, how did that come right up for you like that?
I typed it in because I'm like,
I thought we had blocks on
I thought we had blocks here
on this internet.
I don't understand. Wait, so then why
we have blocks on our internet here so Charlie can't look up a glory hole? Is that what you Oh, you sweet summer child. Also, I don't believe that he doesn't know what a glory hole is. Fuck that shit. He knows what a glory hole is.
They're subsidizing glory holes for their employees?
I mean, I wouldn't, there's a big history of sexual misconduct and shit at Fox News, so I wouldn't be super surprised if they had him, but Charlie knew what the fuck it meant. He was just pretending to be wholesome and sweet. He ain't wholesome or sweet. He's Charlie Kirk. Anyway, we got one more before we're going into red light. Don't worry, podcast listeners, you can catch the rest of this show. It'll be for free on Patreon. So I'm giving you less than the 2 hours that I've been giving you lately. Although the show is intended to be an hour, but just the things have gone so completely turbo that there's no way we could do an hour and cover even a third of the potato patch. Only pay 75%, Jeff. Here's Charlie Kirk. What's in your fridge?
The show is brought to you by Blackout Coffee. It is powered by Blackout Coffee. Family owned, 100% committed to conservative values, from sourcing the beans to the roasting.
Yo, so there's some company out there, right, that's creating all this coffee that they're white labeling and let you put your label on, and then they just ship it for you with your label, and whatever you want to believe is what the label says. They're not making this isn't a coffee roasting company. This is a drop shipper. Jeremy from the Quartering does this. It's probably the same fucking people.
process, customer support, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie.
It's like fourth wall for chuds, but it's just coffee.
That is blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. Super happy to partner with them. 100% endorsement. Check it out for all your coffee needs. We are now having to, I'm guilty of this. I'm going through my kitchen, I'm going through my refrigerator, and I'm starting to ask the question, well, is this ketchup bottle woke?
Mom, did you buy the woke ketchup, Mom?
Is this mustard? I mean, literally, we're at the place now where we have to go through, is the company that makes this? And so, blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. I'm sure many of you are coffee drinkers because you're high energy.
Oh, this guy doesn't cook. This guy didn't know how to cook. You know, going through his refrigerator. He probably still lives at his mom's house. All right. Well, that was that. That was the podcast part of the show. Podcast listeners, head on over to patreon.com/Echoplex. You can get the show for free. You don't have to log in or anything. You can just download it. You can download the audio or the video. Also, maybe I'll publish the whole show on the Odyssey website for all to see. Can't really publish Red Light on YouTube, you know, because they get a little confused. You cover some misinformation, and then they either are motivated to pretend that you're the one spreading it because you're criticizing the misinformation you found on YouTube, or just the computer systems like this looks like misinformation and we're going to get rid of it. So, I don't know. Give us money. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr. This is going to be Boomers by Periscope. This is usually when I say I'm going to turn the lights red, but they already are red. But I am going to change the contents of my drink. I'll see everybody on the flip side. Live viewers, just hang out.
You're a color Can't get enough Echoplex and want to keep the conversation going with the hosts and community when we're not live? Then join our Discord server at discord.me/Echoplex. We have text channels, voice channels, meme repositories, and a whole section of screenshots that we don't even remember where they came from. Come join the Now Space on Discord at discord.me/Echoplex.